against Hamas or
This is Iran.
The malicious entity of Israel has no roots. It's fake and shaky, and it has kept itself present hardly through America's support to it, and God willing, it will not survive.
Israel
you see,
has promised
they
a
threw the
significant
first punch
retaliation
at
for the
Israel,
massive Iranian airstrike.
and that's
according
just
to
like
insiders, all options
Pharaoh
are currently on the table. The Israeli response could include airstrikes from fighter jets, as well as clandestine operations similar to the one that killed Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran nearly 2 months ago. Israel could also target Iranian nuclear program facilities, but one option which is looking increasingly likely is targeting oil production facilities inside Iran and other strategic sites.
In 2014,
it's a possibility that even the US is discussing with Israel.
3/8/14, I was here in Camas, Washington. I was forced to be here. I was ran off and was forced to be here. You know,
After
kind
years
of.
of a shadow war, Israel and
I
Iran
lived
are now
through
on the
some
brink of opening up
experiences
a
that
new and
happened
far
here,
more dangerous front in the conflict that has engulfed the Middle East for nearly a year.
1007 7th Street, Camas, Washington, right there. At that house, it's right on the corner across the street from the park. You know, there's a lot of strange things happened in that house. Susan Donahoe, she don't even ever want to go to that house again. I don't know if she'd even drive past that house again. She had terrible experiences there. Well,
1 week after
she told me
Hezbollah boss
about,
Hassan Nasrallah was killed in a massive airstrike in Beirut, Israel is making the most of the advantage
eyewitness things
by
happened in that
intensifying attacks on
house,
Hezbollah and
and
bombing
she
Beirut
said
to
she
bits.
was a witch and a whore. She broke 2 dozen eggs. She swept the floor, cleaning that house. I had become cursed.
Israel
I was
to
held there
Hezbollah's
like I was
intelligence
almost a
headquarters in Beirut.
prisoner.
This
Well,
is
I
where
was a
Hashim
prisoner. I mean,
Safieddin,
Jesus
the rumored
Christ, you just
successor of
couldn't go
Hezbollah's former
anywhere.
chief Hassan Nasrallah, was
All
in an
eyes were
underground
upon
bunker.
you. It was
As
just
of
like
now,
I was
Safieddin's
totally
fate is
cursed
not
around
clear.
me. So much
Hashim
happened right
Safieddin,
there
who's
around that
Nasrallah's
house. I
cousin,
wonder
was
how
a front
Susan
runner to
Donahoe
replace him
felt.
after he was killed.
You know,
The Israeli military had used nearly 80 tons of
evil happened
explosives,
at that house.
including
She
approximately
told me she
85
was a witch and
specialized
a
bunker
whore,
buster
and I'll
bombs
stand on
designed
that
to
one
penetrate the
forever.
heavily fortified
And
bunker
you're worth
60 feet
something to me.
underground,
What
which
was I
Nasrallah
worth
was
to
in.
this woman? That's what she said. You're worth something to me.
Israel has been carpet bombing Beirut
You know?
for days on end. The Lebanese capital has been the epicenter of massive explosions,
She's
including near
irritated
the
me, and I
international
don't want
airport.
to be. I don't think I want to even be around her. I like her as a person, but
Multiple explosions
I don't
rocked
have to
Beirut's
put up
southern
with
suburb,
somebody
which
that
is the
riles
Hezbollah
me up and
stronghold,
tries to get
and
under my
large
skin
plumes of
for
smoke
some
were
reason.
rising after heavy Israeli
I told her
strikes. Many
the
buildings
truth, the
in
whole
Beirut
truth,
have
and
been
nothing
reduced
but
to
the
rubble
truth, just like
following
I
the
tell all
airstrikes.
of you. I was totally
Israeli
cursed.
Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said they have
You go
no
back to the
surprises
Taylor
in store
Swift
for
thing, and when I
Hezbollah.
spun
After
that
killing
wheel,
Nasrallah,
it was like,
Israel
wow,
invaded
I got my
Lebanon, moving
mojo
forces
back.
into the south. The ground
And
operation is
I
aimed
had
at
lost
pushing
all
Hezbollah
my
forces
mojo.
farther away
Like
from the
I
border.
was totally
But the
goddamn
operation
cursed.
hasn't gone entirely Israel's way.
It's like what
At
they
least
did to
8
me
of their
was
soldiers have been killed
lifted,
in combat operations in Lebanon.
and I can only imagine how Donald Trump
After
feels
decimating
today.
Gaza, Israel is now
And
bombarding Lebanon.
when I get
But their
all
real
riled
target
up,
remains Iran.
things was happening
Tehran
around
had
me,
responded to Nasrallah's
and
assassination
it
by
says
launching
in the
nearly
Bible
200 missiles towards
that the
Israel.
Lord can control the weather pretty much. I mean, even the weather obeys him. Even the weather obeys him. And a lot of other things obeys
Iran's
me
Supreme
too,
Leader
apparently.
Ayatollah Ali Khamenei led his
And I
first
always
Friday
felt
sermon
very
in nearly
humble.
5
You know,
years
God damn,
and
I don't want
justified the
something
missile
bad to
strikes
happen
on
to
Israel
someone
as a
around
public
me
service.
by me
With
just
a gun
saying
kept by his
something.
side, Khamenei declared
You know,
that
that's
Israel
like,
won't last long and will not prevail against Hamas or Hezbollah.
The malicious entity of Israel has no
Iran will
roots.
not
It's fake and
last
shaky,
long.
and it has kept itself present hardly through
When
America's
this shit comes
support
all
to it,
down,
and God willing, it will not survive.
if God willing, it will
Israel
not
has
survive.
promised a significant retaliation for the massive Iranian airstrike. And according to insiders,
I'm for
all
women's
options
rights
are
in the
currently
United
on the
States
table.
of America, ladies.
The
I tell
Israeli
you that one
response
right
could
now.
include airstrikes from
I
fighter
wouldn't ever
jets,
get
as
any
well
if
as
I didn't
clandestine
support
operations
women,
similar
because
to the one that
for
killed
one, I
Hamas
love
leader Ismail
women.
Haniyeh
For
in
number two,
Tehran
I think
nearly 2 months
women's
ago.
been abused,
Israel
and
could also target Iranian
men
nuclear
have put
program
too much on
facilities,
women's
but one
back,
option
and
which is
then when
looking
they put them in the
increasingly likely
men's
is targeting oil
restroom,
production facilities inside Iran and other
I
strategic
could
sites.
imagine that it
It's a
could
possibility
offend
that even
all
the US
these
is
women
discussing with Israel.
and men at the same time time while these riots and stuff were going on, some people says, I don't care. Well, that's because you lowered your standards to what they are.
After years of a shadow war, Israel
if you watch old movies, and I was watching old movies last night, I was watching a Charles Bronson movie, I think it's Majestic. And anyway, in that show, there's immigrants that came, and he needs melons picked. Okay, well, they won't even let the immigrants use the bathrooms, and the man at the gas stations being prejudiced a bit against the whole situation. Well, you know, ultimately, it shows a woman trying to get into the left-hand door as a woman's locked room, and it's locked, and then she looks at the men's room, and, you know, she's thinking, I'm going to be forced to go into the men's room, and hey, that's exactly what goddamn happened in real life, too, by the way. This resonates with me, being a business person that works around businesses and runs businesses, and even set myself up to be a proprietor of a business. That got ripped off from me by a bunch of sheriffs in Lewis County, Washington. Detective Bruce Kinsey, you know,
was in an underground bunker.
My real estate agent, Robert Clifton Kling, along with the caustics and everything, and all the little red writing that was in
the Israeli military had used
the court filings in the Lewis County courthouse pertaining to that bowling alley and the things that was going on will lead right back to the B.B. Cooper dirty money, by the way. They were all a bunch of criminals.
Israel has been carpet bombing Beirut for days on end.
Here, if they find out what we've done,
been the epicenter of massive
they'll hang us.
Including near the international airport.
For what? I was asking Danny Costa, for what? You know? I remember one of the first time I came in there and see Dan Caustic, when I was in there talking to him about business, and I think I had the contract with me for him to sign, or I was bringing the contract back. Probably bring the contract
Israeli
back
Defense
after I
Minister
called
Yoav Gallant
So anyway,
have more surprises in store for Hezbollah.
He got a phone call, and he was so excited. He says, I got George Wright right here. And I looked at him and said, Dan, my dad's dead, and I am not my dad.
But the operation hasn't gone entirely
I don't know what
Israel's
that was about, but
at least 8 of their
me being
soldiers
compared to my
have been killed in combat
dad
operations in Lebanon.
at that particular time, I mean, he was
After
having
decimating Gaza, Israel is now bombarding
I'm John
Lebanon.
T. Wright,
But their real
and I'm not
target
George
remains
L. Wright,
Iran.
and I'm not
Tehran
Jerry
had
L. Wright,
responded to
and I'm
Nasrallah's
not Bonnie
assassination
Jean
by
Wright,
launching
and
nearly
none of them
200
are me.
missiles towards Israel.
Here, I'm not demanding worship, but I see Donald Trump is. But what happened to me, I got to come out to the public and tell you what's happened. Norjack is an FBI case file, the Zodiac killer and all that. That's all
Iran's
biblical.
Supreme Leader,
I was writing some
led his first
notes here about
in
some
nearly
stuff.
5 years. And justified
Well,
the
actually, I
strikes
started
on
writing
Israel
down
as a
names
public
and
servant.
stuff, and I wrote down some
With a
stuff
gun
over
kept by
here.
his side, Khamenei declared that Israel won't last long. And
But
will
anyway,
not
it's just
prevail
personal
against
notes.
Hamas
I don't
or
want to go
Hezbollah.
through it right now. For one,
The
I'm not
malicious
ready
entity
to.
of Israel has no roots. It's fake and shaky, and it has kept itself present hardly through America's support to it, and God willing, it will not survive.
This has to do with Esau and Jacob, too, because
for the massive Iranian airstrike. And according to insiders, all options
I know
are
that it
currently on
has
the table.
everything to do with
The
Esau
Israeli
and Jacob,
response
you
could
know,
include airstrikes from fighter jets, as well as clandestine
the
operations
older will
similar to the
serve
one
the
that killed
younger,
Hamas leader
and all this
Ismail
other
Haniyeh
stuff.
in
God
Tehran
has
nearly 2
brought
months
this
ago.
to my attention,
Israel
and
could
everything
also
has
target
brought this to
Iranian
my
nuclear
attention.
program facilities,
And, you
but
know,
one option which is looking
this has
increasingly
everything to
likely
do with
is
Jacob's
targeting
ladder.
oil production facilities inside Iran and other strategic sites. It's a possibility that even the U.S. is discussing with
I should
Israel.
be singing that tonight. Well, I think that they should nail Iran,
After years of a shadow war,
and they should
Israel and
remove
Iran
their
are now on the
threats.
brink of opening up
And
a
you
new
know,
and
I
far
don't know
more
what to
dangerous
say.
front
I know
in the
that
conflict that has engulfed the Middle East for nearly
this
a
is
year.
one of those things that's going to happen, that once the football's been thrown, like I told you in the past, the football's already been thrown. I'm just here saying beware what's happened. You know, I don't want people to necessarily be annihilated, but at the same time I pulled myself back so God Almighty can have His thing, because I figured out I was between the rock and the hard place. I didn't figure it out. God's made it known to me that this is the way that it works.
1 week after Hezbollah boss Hassan Nasrallah was killed in a massive airstrike in Beirut, Israel is making the most of the advantage it has by intensifying attacks on Hezbollah.
And all I have to say is Beirut's getting bashed to a billion pieces. And George Fairhart, how do you feel today? Because I tell you,
Israel claimed to have
I've had so much anger towards this George Fairhart,
successor of Hezbollah's former chief Hassan Nasrallah,
and never held
in an underground bunker.
any of them, you know, like
is not
with
clear.
anger and stuff. I was told by Nancy as a kid that George Fairhart will never talk to you again. Matter of fact, George Fairhart's never talked to me
including
again.
approximately
After
85
that,
specialized bunker buster bombs
isn't that nice,
designed
George?
to penetrate
I
the
got a
heavily
scratch on
fortified
my lip,
bunker
I'm not
60
lying.
feet underground,
But,
which Nasrallah was in.
Isn't that nice, George Fairhart? You know, one day I was watching the media over there in Lebanon, and there was a person there reporting on Israel's whereabouts and stuff, and it was like they were communicating, you know, where they shouldn't be, and the woman got blown right off the face of the earth. All there was a spot there, you know, and it was caught on camera.
Israeli Defense Minister
Yoav Gallant
said they have more surprises in store
maybe that
for
was
Hezbollah.
one of George Fairhart's family members.
Israel
I mean, that's
invaded
what I really
Lebanon,
thought,
moving
poor
forces
girl.
into the south.
She shouldn't have been there in harm's way, putting herself in such a place where such an event can even happen.
But the operation hasn't gone entirely Israel's way. At least 8 of their soldiers have been killed in combat operations in Lebanon.
I don't want people hurt. You should leave it up to the professionals. That's what I tell people.
Israel is now,
you know, and by the way, when a cop tells you something to do, don't sit there and argue with a guy. Don't argue with a cop. I was going to say a goddamn cop, but there's a lot of cops I don't like, and hopefully a lot of them are leaving the law enforcement community because I believe they are. They want a retirement. They want to retire and get the fuck away from this situation. Because if their hands have been dirty, they should just become nice people instead of abusers. You know, if they are abusers, they should stop. You know, you can watch old movies and stuff, and you can see how the movies were
it's fake and shaky, and it has
actually
kept
were
itself
like.
present hardly through America's support to it, and God willing,
They
it
were
will
just
not
the
survive.
mob from within the
Israel has
community
promised
would go,
a
well, we'll
significant
just be a cop,
retaliation for the massive
and
Iranian
we'll do it right in
airstrike.
front of you.
And according to
And that's
insiders,
exactly
all
what they did with the
options are
Republican
currently
Party, and that's
the
exactly
Israeli
what happened
response
with
could
John
include
F. Kennedy.
airstrikes from fighter jets, as well as clandestine
I mean,
operations
it's
similar
always
to the one
been a
that
plot
killed
to
Hamas leader
overthrow
Ismail Haniyeh
the
in
United
Tehran
States of
nearly 2 months
America.
ago. Israel could
United
also
States
target
of
Iranian
America
nuclear program facilities,
will never
but
be
one
thrown
option,
over.
which is looking increasingly
You know,
likely,
people may
is
say
targeting
it.
oil production facilities
Something
inside
like that
Iran
will-
and other strategic sites.
I don't
It's a
believe
possibility
so.
that even the
And
US is
Israel has a
discussing with
right
Israel.
to live. They have a right to exist, and I would say that we should go back and look at the ancient boundary lines because I have in the past, and it looks
After
like some of
years
these
a
other
shadow war,
entities are
Israel and
actually
Iran are now on
occupiers
the
of
brink
Israel.
opening up a new and far
Because
more
God
dangerous
gave
front
them a
in the
certain amount of
conflict
land.
that
I'm a
has engulfed the
surveyor
Middle East
too.
for nearly a year.
You know, I mean, I survey things. Bonnie and Ernie seen how I was serving things out in the yard and stuff, and you know, they came over and they took my stuff out of the yard. They were infringing upon my rights, and I even told Ernie, you owe me for those objects. And he says, take it off the rent. You know, like that. Well, I wanted to point out that, you know, a person does have rights. People shouldn't inflict their bullshit upon other people too.
1 week
I always
after
try to make
Hezbollah
a
boss
lesson
Hassan
out
Nasrallah
of
was
things.
killed in a massive
Everything that I
airstrike in
do,
Beirut,
somebody's getting a goddamn
Israel is
lesson
making
out
the
of it
most
now,
of the
aren't they?
advantage it has
That's the way
by
I work too, by
intensifying
the
attacks
way.
on Hezbollah and bombing Beirut to bits.
Bombing Beirut's to bits. How do you feel, George? George Fairhart, how do you feel today?
Israel claimed to have hit Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in Beirut.
I want them to hit the intelligence headquarters in Morton, Washington, because right there in Morton, Washington, Jesus Christ, they fucking pass information between those Fairharts and the Middle East, along with laundering money and the 50 American servicemen that got blown up in Beirut. Oh my gosh. I remember the hush-hush talk around that bowling alley. And by the way, George Fairhart, Terry Shortridge got murdered in front of me. Terry Lance Shortridge. Oh, John F. Kennedy. Lancer is the code name for John F. Kennedy, just so everybody knows. So anyway, Terry Lance Shortridge gets murdered on my bed in Morton, Washington,
southern suburb, which is
and it was many against one.
And large plumes of smoke were rising after heavy Israeli
everybody
strikes.
knew in that town
Many
what really
buildings in
happened,
Beirut
but
have
except
been
me,
reduced to rubble
the
following
person
the
that they're
airstrikes.
keeping under wraps at school.
Israeli Defense Minister
That's,
Yoav
if
Gallant
the
said they
leak
have
gets
more
back
supplies
and I
in
come
store
forward,
for Hezbollah.
somebody dies.
After killing Nasrallah,
People just die
Israel
around me.
invaded Lebanon, moving
There's a lot
forces
of people
into the
that's
south.
dead in Morton,
The ground
Washington over at
operation
George,
is aimed at pushing
like
Hezbollah
Skip
forces farther
Davis,
away from the border.
Betty
But
Ford,
the operation
and
hasn't gone entirely
Marie
Israel's
Netzer.
way. At
Those
least
were 3
8 of their
victims
soldiers
right
have
there.
been killed
Terry
in
Lance
combat operations
Shortridge.
in Lebanon.
Let's see.
After decimating Gaza,
And that was just a
Israel is
few
now
of them.
bombarding
How about
Lebanon.
Matthew
But their real
Smith
target remains
that got
Iraq.
killed just
Tehran
outside
had
of Morton
responded to
in a
Nasrallah's
green Ford
assassination by
Fairlane
launching nearly 200
with
missiles towards Israel.
David Fletcher. See, I can remember names pretty good too. And was driving the car, and it was a green Ford Fairlane 500, a 1968 green Ford Fairlane 500. And let's see, what else happened? My dad had a blue Dodge Polara that was cut in half in our yard right there on Division Street where Terry Lance Shortridge got murdered. My dad was out there cutting it in half, and I said, what's going on? I went out and asked what's going on. He said, I gotta get rid of this car. It's gonna cause me trouble. It's a slasher on the fender right there, and also my brother Jerry had thrown a bowling pin through the back windshield and broke it. That car had thousands of dollars owed on it, and it was still owed money in California when my dad came back from the D.B. Cooper crimes, or no, from the Zodiac Killer crimes, and that was the car that was used in the Darlene and David Zodiac Killer thing. But anyway, you know, the things happened in my life, and I know I jump back and forth on things because when I think of George Fairhart, the anger just is terrible. It's my anger of all that time and the people that was murdered, George. You guys are involved with it. Then the Merwins case, you know, where the Merwins, they were taken away in a green car too. Who's saying that the cops are behind it? Green, you know, Sheriff's Green, you know, is what I'm thinking is what this is about. You know, and like my dad said, you know, there's beauty in what you see, like at that signage at the bowling alley, and airplane is in the name of Alpine Bowl, all but except one letter, I believe. But you know, that's the way that my dad would say it, and he showed me, and he taught me, he gave me all the clues, and he knew I put it together. And every action has an equal opposite reaction.
1 week
the Holy
after
Father
Hezbollah
will
boss
put
Hassan Nasrallah
a
was
lot of
killed in a
people.
massive airstrike in Beirut, Israel is making the most of the advantage it has by intent.
I like that. They're blowing it to bits, George Fairhart. Do you understand that? They're blowing it to bits. And by the way, my family knew that I was after Lebanon.
Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters
in
Beirut.
Lebanon.
This is
George
where Hashem
Fairhart, remember
Safieddin, the rumored
everything?
successor of Hezbollah's
You know, you
former
really
chief
did bring all this on
was in an
with me.
underground.
And I didn't know I was the
Safieddin's fate is not
I
clear.
didn't know I was the Lord, and it kind of amazes me all the way. I can't get this goddamn thing up or down. Right?
The military had used
Well, it's
maybe
going to have to
50
be
tons
set
of
right there at
explosives,
least.
including approximately 85 specialized.
I just love this,
bombs
you know,
designed to
ashes
penetrate
under
the
our
heavily
feet.
fortified bunker
Ashes under
60
our
feet
feet.
underground,
Do you understand
Nasrallah
that?
was in.
How ashes under our feet?
Israel has been carpet bombing Beirut for days on end. The Lebanese capital has been the epicenter of massive explosions,
I gotta say,
including near
I
the
must say,
international airport.
I love it. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean,
Multiple explosions
it's terrible that people must die, but people must die because, look, George Fairhart, it's the truth in the way. And by the way, they're getting punished for the Holy Father's son that got murdered on the cross. You know, he died on that sin you guys murdered. The Middle East right there, God's enemies will be under his feet. This is about his son. I mean, Jesus Christ, I understand. You guys took my son. You know, you kidnapped me when I was a child from Port Angeles and had me taken to Mossy Rock, Washington. I ended up in Morton, Washington, and I had a boy murdered in front of me to silence the town. Totally goddamn groomed. I mean, the Holy Father works in amazing
Tehran had
ways.
responded to Nasrallah's assassination by launching nearly 200 missiles towards Israel.
Shouldn't throw shit at Israel. And by the way, I'm going to cut this off at 21 minutes because it's 7:14:21, and you should watch those things on the internet, because a lot of times they'll say, now 16, you flip it upside down, it becomes a 9 and a 1, so 16 is actually perfect, 10. You know, like 208 Morton, Washington on Main Street, the bowling alley down below, 10. My dad taught me how to add up certain things in a certain way, and I find interest in it, and I'm not making a lot out of it, but I am telling you that it's in, on, related, and this is 21 minutes. Thank you, and here we're going to be watching this tonight.